What does Europe have that North America does not? Wild hedgehogs. The best part about having insomnia in late summer is hanging out in the garden and suddenly hearing noises you'd expect from the depth of hell, before a cabbage-sized spiky guy scuttles out from the bushes on his hunt for slugs. The noises hedgehogs make are unreal. I once had a late night and took the dog out for a walk around 1 to 2 a.m., and this happened to us 5 times on the walk at completely different locations. Was terrifying each time because of how dark it was. No one to this day really believes I saw 5 hedgehogs on one walk, which is impressive in itself. I've always wondered why they called them hedgehogs. If I understand correctly, it's because they sound like a hog pushing through a hedge, even though it's not a hog and probably not even a hedge. I'd like to meet one of these critters in the wild someday. We don't have them here, US, but we do have a ton of wild turkeys nowadays, a lot of white-tailed deer, and some interesting birds. Have a hedgehog. They make weird-ass noises. Sometimes terrifying. There are no hedgehogs in North America? I never knew, I thought they were everywhere. Edit, okay, I get it, you keep them as pets. That's obviously not what I meant. Please stop telling me. Once I ran into an opossum on my enclosed porch. It played dead. I picked it up with a hockey stick and placed it in the yard. I get this is not that interesting of a story, but it's like a core memory of mine. My dog killed the same opossum like 3 times. Spoiler alert, he never killed it. I like your story, thank you for sharing. It's a happy end for all involved. BRB moving to Europe. Just a tip. Hedgehogs are one of the oldest species around, and they survived so long by becoming resistant to all kinds of diseases, which they will carry around anyway. So lots of bad bacteria paired with pointy bits is no good for touching. I'm too big of a coward and a low-key hypochondriac. I couldn't touch any wild animal. I'd love to see one just existing in person though, smiley face. It's awesome to just watch them out and about. Back in the day of being a stoner, I was walking to a friend's house baked. He called me after 10 minutes of not showing up. I lived a minute walk away. I told him I had just stopped to watch a hedgehog. He joined me, and we watched a hedgehog go about its evening for a solid 20 minutes. Good times. They are cute and they live close to humans as well, so you just need to be a little lucky and come visit when it's a warmer season. They sleep through the winter. Those kept as pets bond with their humans. And when you take them to the vet for checkups and vaccinations, the entire veterinary staff will show up in your exam room. 3 ADV 3 phases in residential. I know you can have 3 phases there too, but like, I have it, in my apartment. You can have 1 phase 230V, 3 phase 380V, 400V, 3P plus neutral, and in Belgium you can also get 3 phases 230V, no neutral, in some old installations. That €1 I dropped that one time on vacation. Sorry mate, I was the one who found that and I already spent it. Wild hedgehogs and nightingales. Excuse me, the nightingales don't exist. Some say they are a part of the Thieves Guild, but there is no way that group is real. That's no way to speak about the royal family. Damn, this kinda blew up, lol. Unexploded ordnance from 2 world wars. I think America has at least 2 unexploded atomic bombs that the government couldn't find after they were lost in a plane crash. It's more than 2. There are over 15 lost nukes all over the world. This is super fucked up. The Soviets didn't know how many they lost either. What's worse is it's in a country that will retaliate if one of their lost nukes detonate. Nukes take a lot of upkeep to keep them operational. The biggest risk is probably environmental contamination from radioactive material, or theft of technology, which by now is probably easily available anyway. I work in the commercial fishing industry in Northeast America, and we were shut down for a good 6 months because draggers kept picking up unexploded bombs from the world wars. My great-uncle was stationed in the Aleutians during World War II. He was excited to go because he was told there was a woman behind every tree. Too bad there weren't any trees. Fun fact, a couple of days ago, in France, an 88-year-old man went to the emergency room because he got a grenade from WW1 stuck in his ass. Some people have pointed out that it was a shell. Explosive ordnance hiding under rocks, inside trees, buried just under the surface. Every few years you hear about someone in Europe finding a grenade or a bomb with sometimes disastrous, sometimes hilarious results. Edit, this comment seems to have been a little misleading. While news items related to UXO make it from Europe to the US every year or two, it is being found on an almost daily basis. Usually, it is disposed of without incident. Second edit, of course it happens in the US too. But for the most part it is near military bases or military training sites, and poses a smaller danger to the public. In Europe it's everywhere, left over from 2 world wars and several smaller, more recent ones, plus nobody knows where most of it is. As several responses have stated, in Europe you can find UXO just digging in your backyard. In 99.9% of North America, this is not the case. My favorite thing about that story was that the bomb experts had to check, the shell was defused before the doctors could remove it. How many experts from different fields have you had looking up your arse in one day? Less than that guy, I bet. It's not every few years. On Belgium alone, the part, if the army responsible for neutralizing explosives, DOVO, neutralizes about 250 tons of explosives each year. A lot of these munitions are from WOI, and get found by farmers in West Flanders. But munitions from WO2 get found regularly as well. Quite recently one was found at the train station in Ghent. I've never seen World War I or World War II abbreviated as WOI and WO2 before. I'm guessing the W stand for world, but what does the O stand for? Well, oorlog is Dutch, and vaartuig is vaartuig in Dutch and schip is ship in Dutch. And we also call our Navy ships oorlogsschip, so I guess we have that in common with Swedish still. I remember when I was younger I was talking to someone on Omegle, who said they were from Georgia. It was really confusing why they had such an American accent, not knowing Georgia is also a US state, haha. In 1996, the Georgian athletes were treated like kings by the locals in Atlanta. Welcome home, y'all. Honestly, I could see that. That sounds like peak Southern humor. Boobs and shampoo commercials. In England they have a dating show called Naked Attraction, where they show full male and female nudity, and discuss the merits of a lady's labia, or the attractiveness of a gent's ball sack. Whilst it's obviously a voyeuristic show meant to attract people by virtue of showing a load of naked people on the telly, on the other hand, it somehow manages to feel more genuine and less exploitative in tone than most reality TV, even the stuff we tend to see in the UK, let alone the US stuff. 2. It's pretty inclusive of all kinds of people on the show, which is nice. 3. They throw in some little educational segments about sexual subjects now and again, complete with informative little animations. 4. It goes some way towards normalizing nakedness, and making people feel comfortable with the human form, which can only be a good thing. 5. In a world where Hollywood can show graphic violence, but hardly dares show a nipple, there's something nice about entertainment that's about titillation rather than conflict. Good points. Loved this show when it first aired for all the reasons you mentioned. I'm not sure whether it is just the way of things that reality shows pick ever more annoying, controversial contestants as time goes on, or I'm just getting old and cynical, but I can't watch it anymore, too cringy. It's definitely a conscious choice by the producers. More annoying, argumentative people cause more drama, which makes for more interesting viewing. I can't stand shit like Married at First Sight, that clearly just sets some of the participants up to fail, so we can laugh at their misery but still has a bunch of experts on pretending it's their fault for not getting along with people who are the exact opposite of what they were looking for. Walter White dissolving a human corpse in acid to keep the meth empire running is fine for primetime TV, but a nipple is not. Correct. OMG, that was a culture shock moment for me. I was in Ireland and was watching local TV, and Weird Bodies starts and a woman gets a full-on vaginal exam. I was shocked to see that. I was then grossed out when some guy's crazy infected leg was shown later, in the episode without censorship. First time I saw naked attraction was when we were on a trip to London staying in an Airbnb that had Sky TV. Was expecting stuff to be blurred, but nope, everything in HD for all to see. I scrolled right past the cliché bathroom stalls and train systems, but now you have my attention. Just imagine how much shampoo they'd sell in America if commercials had boobs. I've never understood as an American how we are so against nudity but fine with violence. When The Witcher 3 was coming out, you'd see all these clickbait articles about the amount of sex and nudity. I was just like, you can have a severed hag's head dangling from your saddle, right? No one cares about that. Castles. Apparently, I haven't traveled to the castles in NA. My bad. Thanks everyone though. You were giving me something to my mind off of the indoor water park that quickly developed in my house. Drop the name of where the castles are, and I'll add it to my list. Gotta go shop vac some more water out of my house. I grew up in a place called Rochester, Kentucky. We have a Norman castle that I lived about a 10-minute walk from. It was so normal to me that I didn't even think about it. I came back to visit years after I'd moved away and was like, fucking hell, this is like 1,000 years old. I learned to ride my bike in the castle gardens and didn't register the castle. Know how you feel. I grew up in Cornwall where there's a lot of wild coast paths you can walk, and one section has some standing stones in a field, smaller but similar to Stonehenge. As an adult I'm like, wow, these were left by the Celts, and are several thousand years old. As a kid I was like, wait, mate, it's just some fucking stones in it. Germany has more castles than the USA has McDonald's. Ate dinner at a Crossroads pub near Winchester, England. I'm from Virginia, ancient for the New World, that had been in operations since 15 years before Columbus sailed. And then there's the Roman baths in Bath. The age of these floored me. Also 20 minutes outside even the biggest city over there in SW England was rural land, and not sprawling suburbs like in the US. I have to say, with all due respect to European archaeology, it never ceases to amaze me that the oldest Roman building was still built, closer to our time than to the pyramids. Also, Cleopatra lived closer to the moon landing than she did to the building of the Great Pyramid, and woolly mammoths were still walking the earth when the Egyptians built the pyramids. So many people here forgetting that Canada and Mexico are also on the North American continent. Bathroom stalls you can't see directly into. Never understood why American stalls are like this. Now, when I was a small child in Australia, there were pay toilets in the train stations. Hence, the old ditty dash, here I sit broken-hearted, paid a penny and only farted. Where children, or incredibly desperate adults, can go for free, I may or may not have once squeezed through one of these in a late night, wallet-less, moment of extreme urgency. There aren't many advantages of being a human stick insect, but this was certainly one of them, haha.